Hi, I'm Cari Palmer. People who knew me at any of my previous addresses, they see what I'm doing now and it pisses them off because it's like, that's not who you were. No, that's why I left the places that I lived before. If you stay in the place where you are, you can't expand. And I'm going to tell you why I know what I know and how I'm quite qualified to talk about what I'm talking about when I say I've discovered a new world right here on earth and I learned how to live from my heaven space. Well, I get to use this body, but I live from out here. And I did it because of the way I was raised. And I'm going to share that with you quickly so you can understand how I became what I am. My mother married 5 men and moved me 26 times by the time I was in 6th grade. So do the math. I had many dads, and with each dad, no church, no religion, and no military. They were drunks. Daddy number 4 was also daddy number 1. Birth father came back around. So 3 girls, 2 sisters, birth father. Mommy's married to him. He's number 4. She shot him and paralyzed him from the waist down on May 22nd when I was in 5th grade. Do the math. Paralyzed from the waist down, learning a new life in the hospital for a long time. On the 4th of July, she married Roy. We're in Las Vegas. I guess you don't have to have any documentation of anything, right? So she marries Roy. He came into my life as an angel. He was 20, she was 32. My senior year of high school, thanks to him, my life changed because he worked at a factory, a rotating shift, the most horrible job in the world, just to provide for 3 young girls because he knew we would never survive without him. And we wouldn't have, but I had 2 beautiful sisters. They were just drop dead gorgeous, everything perfect on them. And everything was wrong with me. I'm going to put the picture of my senior year and the one they picked to put in the yearbook. I'm sure they all look bad, not as bad as this. I just got my braces put on. So here's the senior picture. So that was what I looked like. In high school, my senior year, I was a chunky monkey with extra large boobs and horrible teeth. They took 8 teeth out to get braces in my mouth. My stepdad made sure that happened for me because he had insurance for me, something we hadn't had before. And then after I graduated, I was 17 and I had braces, but he was able to get me to a doctor to get a breast reduction before I lost insurance at 18, because back then you lost it at 18. Now you guys are spoiled rotten. Without that, I would still feel like that. So Roy was an angel that had to come to me. But so I had moved 26 times by the time she met this man. My mother never, ever cared. It was like she was in it for herself. And that's what everybody I know that I've been in this lifetime with. They're in it for themselves. But she looked at it. She had 2 pretty good ones, and then she had me. There was a disposable one. So I moved. After I graduated from high school, I moved so many times. I moved with my neighbor Leanne to Las Vegas. From there, we moved to California. We moved 3 times in California. I met John. I moved to Boston. I moved back to Las Vegas. This move to this town in the Medford Road Valley is move number 104 for me. If you've moved this many times, it means you get to become who you are and you get to leave and be it somewhere else, because where you are, they won't allow you to, and you know that. So I had years in management, which brought me to Washington from Ohio. I was married in Ohio, moved a few times then, many times. I've moved so many times. But every time you go, you're where you are. So you start at that new space. So when I moved to Washington from Ohio, after I was divorced, I was a new person. I had to leave a husband and I had to develop balls, and I became a whole new person. So I moved across the country as this new person. And I just kept going. I met John, got married, had the kids, stayed in one place for a long time, like her whole childhood, because I didn't want her to have the upheaval I had. That was the biggest mistake I could have made, because she should have had upheaval, because when your life is easy, it's vanilla and you don't have fire to do anything. You sit there and you develop hobbies. So I was in management for years, out of my home, and then in Washington, Bob Kenny, the vice president of the company, he said, "Can I put you through the Dale Carnegie course?" Because I was shy. I was introverted. I couldn't say my name in a crowd, but I could do sales. I could do the work I was doing. I was very good at what I did. I took him up on it because in that room, there were 40 executives. All of us were like dressed to the nines, but we were peeing our pants because we had to speak out loud. I had to win best speaker. And I did after the 9 weeks. And I went back as a graduate assistant. I had to get groomed for what I'm doing now. I hate crying. After that, The company just went away. The company bought it. And I started radio. I went into sales, which I hated, but then I learned how to get into on air. And I did on the air for 25 years, an entire career on the radio, introducing acts, doing live broadcasts, practicing. I knew I was going to be a speaker. I knew that since I was a little tiny kid. A motivational speaker were the word that I got. But I didn't know what I was talking about, and I couldn't know. That's why I didn't start speaking, because I didn't know what my topic was yet, because I had to keep searching until I found it. So I married John. After Hannah went to college, I left. I moved to Olympia, moved back for the pandemic, which was magical. Everything in my life has been magical, but I always go to the next space because I have to. I have to keep moving because I get pulled to courses. Through Marie Forleo's B School, Dale Carnegie. But everything was to help me expand and grow a lot. Toastmasters, NSA, Northwest Speakers Association. I did everything to get me ready for the next chapter of my life, my next career, which is a motivational speaker. I saw myself as a child. And so now I'm stepping into that, and there's nobody who can help me on this earth, because everybody's looking at me like I'm a freak show, and I don't care. I am doing what I'm told, and everything is unfolding for me. That's why I'm making this video. I put the Eventbrite out. I don't care. I don't care if one person shows up. I am talking. But I have moved so many times. With each move, you become more and more who you are. I went to Sedona. That was the first move that was life-changing. In Sedona, and that wasn't a move, that was a trip. I met Alden. He had to meet me before he died. That was the last thing he had to do. His meeting me cleaned my clogged pipes and made me be able to do automatic writing. And I started becoming a channel. I learned how to channel. I didn't learn. You just become it when your pipes are clear. We all can do this. But you are all stuck in these compartments, these stories, and I was stuck in so many compartments. No, that's the difference between you and me. The fact that I've moved so many times. I never got stuck in a story or a compartment. I entered the story. Like when I was in Puyallup and I had all of these friends, I was the event planner in the town. I planned New Year's Eve parties and camping trips, and then I cold turkeyed. I walked away because it didn't feel right. The drama, the people stirring in the puddle like who's Queen Bee. It was like I was pulled out of it. I had to leave, and everything has been me just following my gut. And then I had my big aha moment in 2016, and I have just been going nonstop. Once I found the spiritual path, I don't understand why nobody else does that. Once I found the spiritual path, I got on it and I went all the way. It's like I do everything all the way. Ask Associated Ministries, man. I co-chaired an event, huge event. I had no idea what I was doing, but nobody else stepped up, so I do. I went all the way through the spiritual journey to the end. So those of you who are on a journey, there's an end. You just keep going. You got to walk away from people and move to a new address. You've got to leave the people you're near, because you'll never grow if you're near them. There's so much to be unfolded, but this is how I became what I am. I have been isolated and alone now for so long. In Mount Shasta, I had my neighbor Rich, who we would bump into each other, or Shashi, the lady with cats. But it's like it takes a long time before that even happened. But now I've been somewhere else for a very long time, November 14th. And it's like, no, I have no one. And so this whole event I'm pulling off by myself because it's time. No, because I get to what I went through to write the bridge. I had life. I've experienced things no one can understand. And I may or may not have a piece of the documentary to show during this event. I'm going to make it so simple. I'm just talking, hoping I'll get some media there. I don't care. Frankly, I don't care. Whoever hears is going to be changed. So I want you to have your phones running. So I am qualified because I've been silent. And in my silent, I was summoned in front of friends. They know, they were on the call with me, a Zoom call in May of 22. And I told I was disappearing twice and that I was being summoned. And then I disappeared from everybody's life immediately after that. And then I was summoned and I was brought to Mount Shasta, where I put up a 6-foot fence and I've received a few books. And it was hell, but I'm done. That's why I had to leave Mount Shasta. That part of my life is over. So now I get to share what came through. And the bridge will get published. The rest will get published. I have 2 on Amazon or wherever you sell books. But I haven't been able to tell anybody, hey, look at the books, because they're really important, because I've been summoned. When you connect with God, and I had no God in my life, and you turn and you let your higher self, who is connected completely, when you let that part of you say, what's next? Got it. And then you just go. You can't, because you're here in your body and you're using your brain to deduce things. When I don't, I shut this part off and I'm all, show me. And I did that. I practiced this for years. I'm a master at presence. And you'll feel my energy. So I'm not selling you a bunch of shit. You'll see what I'm talking about. What's really important, I'll put the picture here of the dedication page in Man is Ruining His Own Nest. It's to Liam and Jonathan. Liam and Jonathan grew up in absolute hell. They were prisoners for 11 years while the step monster kept them caged because grandma had a line in the sand she had to cross, but she couldn't cross it. It was just talking to her son was all she had to do, but she couldn't do it. Sometimes, guys, it's just something so simple. So these children lived hell. They're going to be superstars because they came from where I came from. Those of us who came from hell, we are the leaders. We are the ones that know how to do things with our bare hands. We know how to get things done and show you the way. And that's why I surrendered 9 years ago. And they brought me on this path. And they gave me all this information. And now I get to share it with the world. And if you don't like it, you don't have to listen to it. But there's a lot of people who want to know this because they're thinking about killing themselves or ending things and they don't know what to do. I won't tell anyone what to do. I'll tell you what I did. And you're going to know exactly what to do. All you want is clarity, but you can't because you're in the middle of a puddle and you can't swim. You can. You just don't think you can. I'm Cari Palmer. I will be in Medford, Oregon on March 16th. Location to be determined.